Hi dumplings, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Tea and Tarot. Tea and Tarot is an on again, off again series on my channel. I have dedicatedly returned to this series on and off for many, many moons. It's like the earliest series that I ever conceived of for my channel, and it's really lovely to be back in the saddle, slinging cards and sipping tea, because that is really what I do best. That is my raison d'etre, darlings. So I didn't know what to do an episode of Tea and Tarot on this time around, so I went to my patrons, my Pop Tarts and Doll Faces specifically, and I asked them to tell me, what do you want to see a Tea and Tarot episode on? And I gave them a few different options, and they decided that it is time for us to smash the topic of procrastination. So that is what we're going to be using the cards for today. We're going to have a look at the kinds of messages, empowering, encouraging messages, and messages of support that could come through from 3 tarot cards to really give us the edge if we are in procrastination right now. So if you've stalled on a project right now, if you're struggling to begin something you know you need to begin, if you're procrastinating on chores, you're procrastinating on anything important that you know you need to get to, if you feel like you're basically in a state of stasis, hopefully there's going to be something that comes through in the cards today that will give you some kind of inspiration and help you to get moving. We're going to get you unstuck today with tarot. Okay, I will begin by letting you know the tea for the day. It is a pucker blend. I'm being a bit of a basic bitch today. It's a pucker blend called Peace, and it is a blend of spearmint, hemp and ashwagandha, and I'm obsessed with it at the moment. This is the tea that I'm going to at the moment. I've got a bit of a fixation with it. I'm nearly finished actually with this box. I would actually like to invest in some sort of artisan teas if there's any companies that you guys use. Particularly let me know of any UK based companies that you use that I can order some tea from, because I'm in the market for some tea at the moment. I would say I'm running low, but that would be an absolute barefaced lie. I'm never running low on tea. But I have finished a few boxes of tea in the last few months, so I am up for more, and it would be nice not to just go to these really mainstream teas that fill the shelves at supermarkets and actually get back on what I used to love doing, which is buying particularly loose leaf tea blends from witches or peeps that are really clever with making tea and have smaller businesses that I can support. So, and hopefully name drop in Tea and Tarot episodes and whatnot. So let me know if there's any tea companies, little tea companies or tea makers that you use, or if you make tea and you have a business making tea, please let me know down in the comments. I'm not going to sip this now because my lip will burn off. Okay. I'm going to be using the Way of the Panda Tarot today by Kimberly San for our 3 messages. And if you would like to see the unboxing of Way of the Panda and look at me going through all the adorable cards and giving all of my impressions on the adorableness that is this deck, then I will leave the unboxing and first impressions video down below. This is an absolute triumph. I love this deck. You can also get a mini version, which I also own. So yes, very, very in love with Way of the Panda. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for bringing this gorgeous vision into the world. Look how cute this is. So I'm going to be using this. I'm really, really sorry if the light is not quite what you would want, my darlings, because my soft light is only half working. I do need to replace one of the bulbs, but there will be cutaways for all 3 of the cards. So I'm not going to give you this sort of substandard hold up to the camera type of look. There will be beautiful cutaways that will have a lot more light on them. So as I'm talking, when I mention the 3 cards, just give a little glance to the video if you're only listening to it, and you will see the details of the cards quite well. If you've never watched an episode of Tea and Tarot before and you're not familiar with the way that I do things and the way this works, just bear in mind that the advice that I'm going to be giving and the talking points that I come up with, they are general. I'm definitely not speaking to your specific situation with procrastination because I don't know your specific situation. If you would like me to read for your specific situation, I am in fact a professional tarot reader, and I've been doing that for a long time now. That has been my gig for many, many, many uninterrupted moons. So if you want to go down below, you can click over to my online store and you can get something for you that is very much tailor-made to your situation, and we can talk. I do it live on Skype. So if you want to know what the cards say specifically for you, hit me up. But with this, I'm going to be leaning into what the tarot talking points are on procrastination in general. I'm not going to do any spread positions this time, darlings. I think I'm just going to go in for the 3 cards and see what they have to say. But yes, any and all advice is general. I welcome you to, the classic thing I'm going to say, take what resonates and leave the fucking rest. That's how it works, darlings. Okay, so with all of that being said, with the deck being announced and the tea being introduced and all that good stuff, let's get on with it. I'm going to do some shuffling and I'm going to see which 3 messages come through on the topic of procrastination. Now, for me, I definitely have dealt with procrastination. There is no question. With my book, Rebel Witch, that just came out in April, definitely had some issues with procrastination there, darlings. I definitely procrastinate on chores. I definitely procrastinate on things I know I need to do for my own good. Yep, definitely. I have definitely found a few tools and resources, things that help me, mindset shifts that help me, and that kind of thing. And I have definitely realised some things about my own relationship with procrastination. Like, I think my procrastination is often married to perfectionism. It's almost this feeling that if I don't do it, I can't mess it up. And I can enjoy the perfect vision in my mind of this wonderful magnum opus, this incredible, this genius thing that I did. And I won't have to deal with the fact that the real thing wasn't as impressive or kind of disappointed me slightly. So I just don't take any action at all. And once I realised that that was a part of my issue, it really helped me, because I know that I would rather actually take action. And for me, it's always about deathbed perspective. So I really like to look at how I will feel in the winter of my life, in the final days of my life, and think, am I glad that I never did that? Am I glad that I procrastinated on that because I was worried about whether or not it would be perfect? And the answer is always no. No, I do not feel good knowing that I'm gonna, leave this life having not written the book, for example, in my case, because I was too worried it wouldn't be perfect. I'd rather have just written it, and if possible, written more and more and more. So, and it's the same with videos. Sometimes I have a video that I want to do and I feel very emotionally attached to it, and the weight of it is quite heavy because I feel it's very significant and I want to get it right. And I'll procrastinate on it, and then I will think, do I really want to not do this video just because I worry that it's not going to hit every single thing I want it to hit, and it's not going to be, this glorious thing I imagine? Or do I just want to have a go at it and put it out there and know that I would rather something existed in the world on this topic than me just like hanging back and procrastinating? And the answer is always that I would rather do something and it not be perfect than delay it indefinitely and end up never doing it because I'm too scared of not getting it perfect. So that's something that usually pushes me on. And in fact, to be honest, just imagining myself fertilizing daffodils in many moons when I'm no longer alive tends to also put me on the other side of procrastination. So that's how it works for me, definitely. And also, I think sometimes I'm just not thinking about what would be so great on the other side of whatever I'm procrastinating on. So if I'm procrastinating, for example, on eating a little bit of a shit sandwich, you know what I mean? Where it's something that I don't want to do. It's like a really chore that's going to take a while and it's boring or whatever. I always think about how I'm going to feel on the other side. And that's always a really comfy thing for me. Let's see what's coming through in the cards to get more insight on this this topic of procrastinating, not moving, not doing what you said you were going to do, or even what you really want to do. The first card to come through from way of the Panda Tarot is death. Big, 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 juicy message right off the fucking bat. What more could you ask for in any reading, but for the death card to come through? So I'm going to go to the cutaway here, darlings, and you'll be able to see that there is this sad and hope-giving sort of image where you've got the sort of body of the panda lying down, being reclaimed by nature there, and then you've got this other version of the panda rising up, leaving the body and sort of going on to this new situation, the energy rerouting and going in a new direction, or at least that is what it would appear to be anyway. So yeah, really beautiful image. I love the greenery and the flowers and everything. I really love the colours here. Let's get into what death is telling us about procrastination. The very first thing I thought as soon as this card came through was that it's a reminder that you cannot stop change from occurring and progression from occurring. When you try to stop it, it will come through anyway, but it will come through in a way that you don't have as much control over, or you don't have as much say over. Things are moving toward change all the time in one way or another. Transformation is imminent. Decay is inherent in all component things, as the Buddha said. Death is this thing that is going to happen, and therefore change, transformation, shifting, metamorphosis. In some way, if you feel drawn towards doing something, whether it's decluttering your space or whether it's writing a novel, whatever it is, that is an urge towards change. It's an urge towards rebirth. It's an urge towards skin shedding, shifting, metamorphosizing, letting something old go and letting something new come in. When we procrastinate, we're almost digging our heels in. We are almost not letting the energy of transformation come through. We're kind of strangling it. We're stifling it because we're nervous about how we're going to feel on the other side of it. Maybe we're worried about what we need to lose in order for that new energy to come through and that new feeling to come through. Or perhaps in my case, the procrastination is linked to perfectionism. So we know that something needs to live, something needs to happen, but we're afraid that it's not going to be as amazing as we hope it's going to be. So we're strangling it, we're like kind of holding it down, we're making it stay put. But actually, that energy is there. It's riveting. It wants to engage in the world around it. It wants you to let the change happen. So to me, it's almost like the death card is saying that you can be the world builder. You can be the conductor. You can take tight control over this energy of change that's coming through. If you pretend it's not there, if you try and stifle it or shut it down, if you turn away from it, it's probably still going to come through, you know? Just because you cut the heads off everything doesn't mean that those heads won't grow back. Just because you're pretending that the flowers aren't coming and you're stamping them down or you're turning away from them doesn't mean that they're not going to bloom. And with the death card here, you've got so much nature flourishing, blooming. You've got flowers coming up. You've got that greenery coming through. And that makes me think that, you know, we can't really suppress that. We really may as well go with it and give our energy to it because that energy of change is coming anyway. So why not be the gardener? As opposed to just the garden growing up around you and you pretending and being like, no, 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 this isn't happening. I don't want this. I don't want to deal with this. Instead, let it really become the master of it. Let it grow and flourish in your hands and with that sense of control, as opposed to turning away from it. Because to me, if we feel moved to do something, or if we really know that we've got to do something in order to move forward, then that means the energy of change is already here. So why not be the conductor? Why not be in control of that energy of change and let it come about in the way that feels most right for you? And sure, it's not maybe going to always be plain sailing, but isn't it better to say, yes, the energy of change is present and apparent, and I'm going to stake my claim on it? Isn't it better to say that and to think like that, to operate in that way, than it is to say the energy of change is maybe tomorrow. I'm going to shut the door on it. I'm going to sit on it. I'm going to stamp it down. I'm going to cut the heads off it. I don't want it. I don't want it. It's coming. It's coming. Death is almost this proclamation of it. So to me, this card is saying it's coming whether you like it or not. Be the gardener. Tend these blooms. Decide how you're going to actually be the architect of this, instead of it happening anyway and you feeling stressed by it, scared of it, reluctant to accept it. Death is almost saying, accept it, draw it to you, be a part of that transformation instead of being resistant to it. Time for a beverage break, because that's what tea and tarot is all about. It wouldn't be tea and tarot without the tea breaks now, would it, darlings? That blend is absolutely pucker, as we say in England, and it's made by Pucker, so that's funny. I really love the fact that death has come through, because death is that reminder that something can be inevitable, something can be unavoidable, and it can be terrifying, but we have to accept on some level that it's time to do it. It's time for that change to be embraced and let into our hearts. You might very well be afraid of what's on the other side of the thing you're procrastinating over. And so you might be convincing yourself that you can pause time for as long as you need to. And you can pause it maybe indefinitely because there's a fear there of what comes on the other side of the thing you're procrastinating over. And it could be anything. You could be listening to this video right now and you might be focusing on something very specific. It could be some official paperwork that you've got to do. It could be a difficult phone call or a difficult talk that you've got to have with somebody. Maybe you've got to break up with somebody. Maybe you've got to tell somebody you don't want to be in business with them anymore. Maybe you're procrastinating on a massive declutter of your home. You know, maybe you're procrastinating on like starting that novel, starting that new exercise regime that you want to do, whatever it might be. So there's lots of different things that you might be procrastinating on watching this, depending on who you are. But I think what the death card is saying is that you might be scared of what is going to happen once the skin is shed, once that lever is pushed, once that button is pressed. There might be a fear, but the energy of change is something that is coming anyway. And it's probably less destructive when you look it in the face and say, yeah, I'm ready for the next thing. Clearly the energy is going in that direction. And I don't want to turn around and try to push back this tidal wave. I want to go with it. I want to be in that flow. I want to take that sort of least resistant flowing path where I'm going in unity with the energy that's coming through. There is definitely room for fear with whatever we're procrastinating on. I think the death card has a lot of fear attached to it. I think the word death is a big, meaty, scary energy that has a lot of fear attached to it. I think it's important that we acknowledge that it's okay to feel the fear of doing something and then do it anyway. Classic self-help book title, Kellyanne. Sorry, I wasn't trying to steal that, darlings. I was going in that direction. Feel the fear and do it anyway. Hug the monster and other self-help classics. Death is a card that gives us so much emphasis on catharsis. I think when you let something go, when you release something, when you give something to the angels, as some might say, you really are feeling that deep catharsis within you. You are making space for something new to come through. Procrastination has got a resistant, hanging on, clinging kind of energy to it. And I think death is welcoming us to just let it go, drop the shoulders, take the tension out of the body, take the tension out of the emotion, stop being in refusal, and just really release it, let it go, and say, come what may. Just say, you know what, this garden is growing anyway, these flowers are coming up anyway, and I choose now to be the gardener. I will be accepting of the fact that things are growing here, things are changing, other things are falling away. I accept that in a year's time, I won't even be able to see this wall because it will be covered with, tendrils of ivy or whatever. I accept that I don't know what this is going to look like soon. And it's okay. I'd rather be in charge of that and feel that I'm growing with it and I'm coming into my own as a result of it, than to be fearful of it and try and push it back when I know that there is an inevitability to this energy. So I think wherever you can place that, wherever you can make that into part of your action plan, it might be a good idea to do so. Do you know that you are ready for this energy of transformation? Do you know that you're being called to it? And when you're trying to push it away or shove it down or stop it, you are out of alignment with what is inevitable and with what is really true and what is really strong about your story. That was a very interesting first card to receive for procrastination. And I think I might have gone a little bit poetic and a bit oratory there, darlings, which I hope you'll forgive me for, if there's any forgiveness that I require for that. Okay, so let's have a little look what the next of the three cards is for procrastination and getting us moving when we feel like we might have stopped on the side of the road and we're not making very much in the way of movement. Okay, next card from Way of the Panda Tarot then to come through for us on this topic is the High Priestess. Oh my goddess, so much spirit energy, so much major arcana energy coming through, doll faces. This is really a very awesome one to see. And if you look at the cutaway, you will see that the High Priestess in Way of the Panda is just absolutely stunning. She's gorgeous. She's got that lovely headdress with the crescent moon on there and the star. She's looking up into the sky, and you have got just that absolute wealth of abundant, rich, deep, inviting colour behind her there. So Kim really just made a matchless, beautiful image of the High Priestess there for Way of the Panda. Lovely. I love to see the High Priestess on the topic of procrastination, because immediately, as soon as I look at it, I think this is Tarot's way of saying, don't you trust yourself? Don't you know that you've got this? Can't you see that you can take this in hand? Can't you see that over the course of the timeline of your life, you've done so much, you've dealt with so much, you've encountered so many ghouls and goblins, and you've gotten your armour on and you've gone through it. You've come up with so many awesome ideas. You've had so much innovation running through you. You have made so many changes already. You've built so many paths where the paths weren't there before. And this is really about recognising that. The High Priestess is very much in alignment with self-trust. The High Priestess is a figure in Tarot who is listening deeply to their intuition, who knows that they've got tools and resources and messages inside of them and portals to spirit that they can use to get direction when they feel lost. And so really the message here is that you have access to all of that. Sometimes when we're procrastinating, we've forgotten that, sweethearts, haven't we, basically? I know that every single person watching this video has had at least a handful of experiences in their life where they didn't know what the next right action was supposed to be, or maybe they didn't have access to certain information that they really wished that they had access to, and they had to lean into their deep feeling about something. They had to connect with their spiritual nous. They really had to trust themselves. They really had to just go with what they thought was best. And when you look back over your experiences of doing that, know that you can do that again. And yes, sometimes you will receive information, spiritual insight, inspiration at the very much the 11th hour, right at the last minute when you're like, oh my God, oh, thank God that happened. Like, I needed that. I was waiting for that. I was worried about what I was going to do if that didn't happen. And you can look at those instances too as examples of how it's not that bad to just forge forward. So if you are waiting on the sidelines, you're deep in procrastination and you're telling yourself, well, I've just got to wait for a bit more information. I've just got to wait until my skills are a bit better. I've just got to wait until I know what everybody else is doing. I've just got to wait. I've just got to wait. I've just got to wait. I've just got to wait for a message from spirit. Whatever you're telling yourself you need to wait for, the high priestess is reminding you that many's the time you've been on the path and the path is building itself in front of you as you're walking it. And yes, it's scary, but you live to tell the tale, darling, and you've actually developed that into a part of your character, a part of your wisdom, a part of what you now may even use to advise others. So you can do that again. You don't need to wait until everything is perfectly in place. That's a little bit of a mirage anyway, most of the time. It's a way that we can find the excuse to sit on our hands and not take action because we convince ourselves, oh, we just need another brick in the wall here. We just need another piece of insight there. And then we can get started. Come on, at the end of the day, we know that quite often that can be bollocks and we just need to get started. We just need to get moving. A lot of the time, I think the high priestess comes along to remind us that while we're waiting for these things, these pieces of information, these improved skills, this sense of confidence that we think we need to be able to move forward, while we're waiting for those things, we're disempowering ourselves. We're not looking at what we've already got at our disposal. The high priestess is filled with really deep, rich insight. She's wise. This is a figure in tarot who doesn't always need to get all of the information and have all of the, the T's crossed and the I's dotted. And, they don't need to wait around for a telegram telling them what to do or what the logical thing is to do. Sometimes they just have to move forward. They have to just keep playing the chess game of life. And the instinct of what to do next, what their next move is going to be, will come when it's time for it to come. We have to trust that. And just because you do not know what the finished thing is going to look like now, from your vantage point now, does not mean it's not going to be riveting and it's not all going to make sense once it's done. This is about trust as well in the process. It's trust in yourself and it's trust in the process. That what is not built yet will be built well when it's built, but it's not built yet and maybe you can't visualize it in full. But that doesn't mean it's not a really worthwhile thing to start on. The high priestess very much turns up sometimes in readings when you're telling yourself that you can't, and spirit wants to remind you that you can. You have before, and God damn it, you will again. So sometimes that's what's happening there, baby cakes. Whereabouts are you telling yourself you can't? Whereabouts are you telling yourself that you don't have what it takes? Whereabouts are you telling yourself you need to wait for just one more thing to strengthen you up for the thing that you need to do, when actually you're ready? You have the things inside you that you need. And if the insight isn't coming at this exact moment, it's because it's not the right time. Just start moving and the path will begin to build itself in front of you. Another thing I love about the high priestess is that if you are working with your own instinct, if you're listening to your own deep intuition, if you're getting your own messages from spirit, if you've got your own connection with your dreams and with your deep sense of what needs to come next, it means that you might not necessarily be doing something the way other people are doing it. You might be bringing a lot of innovation to whatever it is that you're doing. So whatever it is you're procrastinating on, maybe you're procrastinating on it because you're not convinced that you can do it the way other people do, or the way people are supposed to do it. So you're kind of waiting to learn that, or you're waiting for someone to show you that. But the high priestess can be quite innovative, quite different. This is a figure who can be quite a maverick and have a maverick way of doing things. Maybe you're not going to do it by the book. Maybe you're going to do it in a very deeply instinctive way that's going to really draw on your connection with spirit, or your deep emotion, your deep sense of what the next action needs to be, as and when it's time to make that move. So if you're procrastinating because you feel like, you know what, I don't really know how to do it the way others have done it before me, or I don't really know how to make it look like that person's over there looks. Maybe that's not what the point is for you. Maybe that's not what you're supposed to be doing. The high priestess, I think, is maybe a permission that you need to grant yourself to go in the direction that feels right. And sure, maybe you will take different decisions and build a slightly different path to what's been built before, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And it's definitely not a reason to keep self-sabotaging yourself into stasis. So, my darlings, really lean into that question. Whereabouts are you not trusting yourself? And whereabouts can you look back over the timeline of your life and your past and really see the evidence that there were some times where you didn't know what you should be doing, or there were some times where you were worried about what was going to happen next, but you dealt with it, you rose to the challenge, and now you can live to tell the tale. And that's a part of your great wisdom. So often we're procrastinating because we think that's not going to happen, but there's ample evidence that it's already happened over the timeline of your life. So that's important to remember. Okay, the final card from Way of the Panda Tarot to speak to us about procrastination is Eight of Pentacles. Eight of Pentacles. And for anybody who gets the one card riffs, any of my patrons who work with the one card riffs with me every month and hang out in the one card riff cafe, you will be grinning because you know that we have gotten Eight of Pentacles twice since we've been doing this work together. So I'm actually expecting Eight of Pentacles to come up a third time soon. I feel like Eight of Pentacles is just one of these that keeps coming back to us in our work as a group. This is a very adorable depiction of Eight of Pentacles. You've got this panda sort of shyly hiding behind the pentacle there. But actually you can see the evidence of this panda's amazing industrious dedication in all of these pentacles that are hanging along the top in this beautiful decorative design all over the ceilings or the walls, however you want to see it. I kind of see them as hanging down in a decoration from the ceiling. And you've got the panda there, obviously responsible for making this beautiful thing, and maybe a bit bashful, maybe a bit shy. But basically, it's about taking the credit, I think, for what is actually going on here, for the effort that's been expended here. And that gives me immediately a very interesting thing to go on for the procrastination theme. Sometimes we're procrastinating on something that's going to make us more visible, and it might give us more power. It might earn us more respect. It might even just bring us closer into contact with ourselves, with the beautiful things about ourselves, with the things we're capable of doing. And as wonderful as all that sounds, as positive as all of that sounds, it can be scary AF. So sometimes we're procrastinating because we know that whatever it is we're about to do, whether it's a practical thing that needs to get done, or whether it's a deeply creative thing or a spiritually profound thing, whatever it is, we know that on the other side of that, we're going to be bigger, deeper, more. We're going to have greater access to our potential. We're going to be more in control of the strengths that we have. We're going to be able to see the brightness in ourselves more. And perhaps other people are going to see that too. We're going to be maybe more visible externally, more visible in the world. Maybe we will earn accolades and praise from whatever it is that we're currently procrastinating on. Maybe people will take notice of us. I know that for me, like I said at the beginning, I procrastinated for a long time on Rebel Witch. I had various areas where I procrastinated on the book. And now I'm reading reviews of the book, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm hearing feedback, and I'm hearing from people who've read the book. So for me, this Eight of Pentacles message of kind of standing in front of your work and saying, I did this and this now exists because I stopped procrastinating and I got on with it and now it's a finished thing. For me, that's very much linked to visibility. It's very much linked to other people seeing the work and having an opinion on the work. And if you're a dancer, if you're a painter, if you're a writer, if you are a public speaker, if you're any of those kinds of things, and more besides, if you're a coach, whatever it might be, yes, part of it is about visibility. It's about other people being able to have an opinion on your work. It's about getting feedback for your work. And maybe that is, for some of you, where the procrastination is coming from. It's that nervousness of actually taking ownership of what you've created, what you've said, what you've put out. Yes, it is scary, definitely. But waiting for that fear to completely subside is a fool's errand. That's the waster's dream ticket, my loves. It's never going to subside. You know, the reason you're fearful of it, or part of the reason you're fearful of it, is because it means so much to you. It's so important to you. And so the fear is part of it. The fear is a necessary thing. I have had several really meaningful conversations with different clients about the role of fear when we are going towards something that we're nervous about and we're procrastinating on. And I've often asked my clients to imagine that the Grim Reaper is sitting at your team meeting about this thing that you're going to be doing. So you've got all of your different strengths there. You've got all of your positive characteristics. You've got your enthusiasm, your motivation, your knowledge of the subject. But then in the corner, there's the Grim Reaper, you know, sitting there like 8 feet tall, just like with the scythe and the hood. And you're thinking, I mean, we're about to do a huddle up. Do I invite the Grim Reaper, or am I waiting for the Grim Reaper to leave? And I use that image because the Grim Reaper at the end of the table there is the fear. And often we're waiting for the fear to go away so we can have this excited meeting and huddle up all of these incredible things that we know are going to help us get to the finish line. But the Grim Reaper is part of the team. The fear is part of the team. You can also imagine it as a monster, a goblin, a drooling gargoyle, whatever it is, I don't know, the character from Freddy Krueger, the character from a horror movie, somebody at the end of the table that you're thinking, okay, you're not supposed to be here. That's the fear that you feel because you're about to do something significant. You're about to do something that you know is going to make some kind of a difference. Don't wait for that figure to leave. Don't ask Pinhead from Hellraiser to leave. Bring Pinhead in. Let Pinhead be a part of this. Where are you going with this, Kellyanne? Okay, anyway. So yes, if there's a fear of visibility, if there's a fear of seeing your own brilliance, owning your potential in a way that makes you see yourself differently or makes other people see you differently, or even just makes people see you more, remember that fear is a part of that story. Don't wait for it to subside before you take action. Just know that it's a scary thing and it's okay. It's part of it. Being fearful of the thing that you also desire to do is part of it. And it's an essential ingredient, I think, for keeping us on our toes and excited about what we're doing. Eight of Pentacles is also about your effort. It's about seeing your effort. It's about recognizing how your efforts have turned into this incredible concrete thing that you now are in charge of, you can take ownership of, and it's amazing. And I think this card is asking you to consider how much you deserve to be able to see your effort. And remember how exciting it is to see your effort. Once you're moving, once you've got that momentum, and you start doing things towards the project, towards the task, and you start seeing how there's a positive result because of that, you get to own that effort. You get to praise yourself for that. You get to be impressed with yourself for what you're doing. Have that. Take that. You deserve that, and you can pay that forward as well. If you're a parent and you get to praise yourself for what you're doing or be impressed with the efforts that you've made, that's something you can pass on to your children. Your children will get the nice, positive, high vibes as a result of that. In your friendships, in your relationships with your work colleagues, if you are giving yourself access to that wonderful feeling of application and momentum and giving yourself credit for a job well done, that will go out like a ripple into the water of all of these other relationships in your life, and it will inspire others in your life. If you have any kind of audience around you, if you are a spiritual teacher, if you're a healer, if you're a reader, if you're a personal trainer, if you're a coach of any kind, if you're a teacher of any kind, then the ripple effect of that wonderful feeling that you are recognizing your own momentum and owning your effort, that ripple effect will be felt by others. Think of it as a gift to those around you, not just something that you are ingesting, but something that other people are getting the benefit of. Darlings, I very much enjoyed offering you these insights for Tea and Tarot. I think this was a particularly long one. I think I was really getting into it there, but hopefully you guys will really enjoy it. Thank you so much for being a part of it. If you would like to join my Patreon, we do actually explore a card every single month over on Patreon, and we do so many other things. We have movie nights, we have a Discord where we exchange ideas and chat to each other. We have loads of different things going on, lots of different live sessions and stuff like that. Come along and be a part of that. I'll leave the details down below for you. You can follow me across all social media platforms, so please do that as well. Okay, much love, darlings, and blessed be.